In the headlines, APC chieftains ask President Buhari to respect Supreme Court ruling on old Naira notes. Bandits shoot DPO, one other police officer dead in Zamfara town. ISWAP kills 200 Boko Haram terrorist families in Borno. And on the foreign scene, 2 Red Cross workers kidnapped in Mali. Hello and welcome to Trust TV News Update. I am Ibrahim Yusuf. Hello and welcome once again. We begin in Zamfara State, where a chieftain of the All Progressives Congress in the state, Abdullahi Shinkafi, has asked President Muhammadu Buhari, the Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, and the Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, to respect the Supreme Court ruling on the old Naira notes to coexist with the new notes as legal tender till 31st December 2023. He said this while reacting to last Friday's Supreme Court ruling over the suit instituted by the governors of Kaduna, Kogi and Zamfara states, challenging the Naira redesign policy of the Central Bank of Nigeria. The report.
Shinkafi observed that the Naira redesign policy imposed hardship on the citizens, especially those in the rural communities. He urged the President, Attorney General of the Federation and Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria to obey the decision of the Supreme Court, saying any attempt not to uphold the Apex Court ruling will be considered reckless, impunity, and invitation to chaos and anarchy.
Individually. So it is a civic responsibility of every Nigerian, whether you are a president, whether you are nobody, you must respect the outcome of the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court is the apex court of the land. That is why you see Hausa people are calling it go to Allah or go to Koli. That is the highest court of the land. So Mr. President must respect the decision of the Supreme Court. Being a president, he must lead by example. He must be a law-abiding citizen of this country. He must not act under impunity. He should act within the confines of law and order. I want to commend the courage and the professional foresight of the learned jurist on how to uphold the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And the decision of the Supreme Court today has clearly demonstrated that nobody is above the law of the land. The Supreme Court has granted an interim order restraining the federal government, Attorney General of the Federation, and the President from taking any further step on the new Naira design policy.
On the 11th March governorship and state houses of assembly elections, Shinkafi appealed to the governorship candidate to play the game by the rules and shun any act that could cause violence before, during, and after the exercise.
Meanwhile, Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, has urged President Muhammadu Buhari to disclose details of the measures so far taken to immediately and effectively obey the Supreme Court decision extending the validity of old 200, 500 and 1,000 Naira notes and directing the Central Bank of Nigeria to continue to receive the notes from Nigerians. In a letter dated 4th March 2023 and signed by SERAP Deputy Director Kolawole Oluwadari, the organization said there is an overriding public interest in disclosing the details of the measures the government and the CBN are taking to effectively and satisfactorily obey the Supreme Court decision. SERAP urged the President to publicly instruct the CBN to immediately and effectively implement the Supreme Court decision, ordering an end to the cash withdrawal limits imposed by banks, because such restrictions violate citizens' rights to freely use their property. SERAP also urged the President to disclose the measures that his government is taking to direct the CBN to immediately recirculate the old 200, 500 and 1,000 Naira notes as ordered by the Supreme Court. Nasarawa State Governor Abdullahi Sule has cautioned people in the state against the use of religion and ethnicity to cause crisis in the state. The governor gave the warning during a meeting with religious leaders following different videos trending on social media calling on residents of Nasarawa State to vote based on religion during next week's gubernatorial election. Correspondent Abubakar Abdullahi sent in the report as presented from our studio.
Addressing the religious leaders on the provocative trending video, Governor Abdullahi Sule described the trend as dangerous to the growth of democracy, adding that it is a threat to the unity of the state if allowed to continue. He therefore appealed to the people of the state to avoid utterances capable of causing religious conflict in the state. He called on religious clerics to caution their followers against engaging in acts inimical to the teachings of their faith.
On the various religions, I'm not apportioning any blame to anyone. I don't even know who started, but from what you are seeing, it is going wild. Because now we are having people from far outside the state who feel they should participate in the debate of Nasarawa State. And that is because we allow ourselves. According to Abraham Lincoln, in his speech, where he mentioned a house divided against itself cannot stand. So we have to be very careful not to allow religion to be the reason that will divide us so badly.
Speaking to journalists shortly after the meeting, State Chairman of Christian Association of Nigeria, Sunday Ima, and Secretary General of Jama'at Nasr al-Islam, Muhammad Ali, expressed happiness with the meeting. They said the measures taken by the governor would give confidence to the followers to come out and cast their votes during the March 11th gubernatorial election in the state without fear of intimidation.
And from the angle of CAN, we are so happy with the call because a lot of our members are worried as to what will happen on the 11th of March, whether they will come for election or not, because of the threat, the intimidation, and all the provocative statements. But with this meeting, we call on every Christian, not just Christian, every well-meaning Nigerian, especially in Nasarawa State, to come out and vote. There's every assurance that there is security, and more so that anyone who wants to obstruct the peace we're enjoying in this state will not be allowed to do so.
One good thing with Nasarawa State, we have never fight any religious fighting in the state. And inshallah, this time around will not come as a religious fighting. So Excellency emphasized more on the peace and let us have a peace. And some of these provocative videos and hate speeches, which he said we should let our followers to desist from such videos or hate speeches. We just want to have a peaceful election, just like we had during the presidential election.
The leaders of the two major religions promised to extend the message to their followers across different parts of the state.
Now to matters of security, where armed bandits on Sunday shot dead a divisional police officer, a police sergeant and a vigilante in an attack on Maru town, the headquarters of Maru local government area of Zamfara state. A resident of the town who craved for anonymity has reliably told Daily Trust that the armed criminals had invaded the town to kidnap a businessman. The armed men had earlier abducted his brother and was freed after ransom was paid. They came again to kidnap him, but he had managed to escape. Unfortunately, they took his wife. The DPO mobilized his men to foil the attempt by the criminals to kidnap the businessman, but lost his life in the gunfight. The spokesman of the State Police Command, SP Muhammad Shehu, could not be reached for comment. And in the northeast, the Islamic State for West Africa province terror group has killed over 200 Boko Haram terrorists and their families in a deadly rivalry crash in the northeast of Gudumbali in Borno State. It was gathered that the ISWAP insurgents targeted hundreds of Boko Haram terrorists and their families at Chulie village located in the northern part of the state, while fleeing ISWAP attacks between February 26 and 27, 2023, which led to the killings of many Boko Haram women and children. A military source familiar with the development reports that the sustained attacks had led to the dislodgement of hundreds of the fighters. The source said the Boko Haram terrorists, who scampered to safety, ran towards the Mandara mountains in the Goza axis to seek refuge. In contrast, others fled towards Konduga, Mafa, Dikwa, Gajiram and the Lake Chad shores. Some yet to be identified gunmen have killed the village head of Maigari in Rimingado local government area of Kano State, Dahiru Abba. His son, who is also the chairman of Rimingado local government, Munir Dahiru Megari, confirmed the incident to Daily Trust. He said the incident happened around 2 a.m., adding that the unidentified gunman stormed the monarch's home, inflicted various degrees of injuries on his body and later shot him dead. He was buried in Megari village of Rimingado local government area of Kano State. When contacted, the police public relations officer, SP Abdullahi Haruna Kiawa, said he was not aware of the incident but will investigate and get back to our reporter. And now to the economy, where the International Monetary Fund has urged the Central Bank of Nigeria and other monetary authorities to de-emphasize monetary policy as a way of tackling the resurgence of inflation. In a report titled Rethinking Monetary Policy in a Changing World, the Washington-based lender said the ability of central banks to set monetary policy and control the economy in more fraught times hinges on its independence. According to the report, low interest rates and less extreme public debt levels that prevailed after the global crisis of 2008 permitted central banks to ignore what were then relatively inconsequential infractions between monetary and fiscal policy. Stay with us on a Trust TV News Update. Still ahead, we'll take a look at how a blind teacher writes books. Details of this and more after the break. Stay with us.
TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
Now, as part of efforts to support Africa's goal of strengthening...
Now, looking at the activity chart, as you can see right here, a total volume of 130...
Created a Boko Haram crisis that at that time was restricted to Yobe.
How secure are they? You can see security men with blood.
This is the road leading up to the...
Already, if you look at England squad, you are looking at EPL, you are looking at their names. You are not looking at...
Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us on Trust TV News Update. Now let's take another look at our top stories. APC chieftains ask President Buhari to respect Supreme Court ruling on old Naira notes. And bandits shoot DPO, one other police officer dead in Zamfara town. Moving on to other news, the National Agency for Food, Drugs Administration and Control, NAFDAC, has pleaded with journalists in the country to play a vital role in the drive to eradicate the menace of bleaching creams. The Director General of the agency, Professor Mojisola Adeyeye, made the call at a one-day media sensitization workshop on dangers of bleaching creams and regulatory controls organized for the Association of Nigeria Health Journalists in the Southwest, held at House of Chiefs Secretariat, Ibadan, Oyo State. The DG said the workshop was aimed at educating people on the dangers of bleaching creams, safeguarding the health of the people and ensuring that consumers are well educated. The DG explained that the agency has regulated actions to stem the tide of rampant and pervasive cases in Nigerians using bleaching creams. She cautioned Nigerians to be wary of what they use and the bleaching of their skin, adding that continuous use of the chemicals will lead to dangerous health conditions. A Jos-based Islamic scholar, Sheikh Na'an-Nabi Mu'azu, who turned blind when in his mid-20s, says he had written more than 150 books since he became blind. The 58-year-old, who writes his books in Arabic language, says the Almighty Allah knows why he made him blind at his prime, and the incident turned a blessing for him. Adu Musa completes the story.
Despite his disability, Sheikh Na'an-Nabi, a resident of Endoka Street, Jos-North local government area of Plateau State, wrote over 150 books and has about 1,000 of students of different categories, including adults, who learned different Islamic books from him. The Islamic scholar believes that he was destined to be blind by Allah, adding that some individuals are destined to lose their hands, legs, ears, or any part of the body as a test from the Almighty. When I became blind at the prime of my life, I accepted the condition as a will of Allah, because Prophet Muhammad says whoever loses any of their sense organs and takes it as a destiny will surely be in paradise. Sheikh Na'an-Nabi also explained, one thing from you, he gives you another one. Probably, if all my sense organs are in good shape, I would not have had the wisdom to write books, teach or learn, and I thank Allah for that. Asking what is his hope in life, the Islamic scholar has this to say: my hope in this world is to live and end my life peacefully. I want all I have done for the good become useful to all and sundry even after my life. One of his students, Tijani Aliyu, explained why they seek knowledge from the blind scholar.
What impresses me with the Sheikh Ustaz Na'an-Nabi is his eloquence in Arabic and Arabic literature, which is called Nahaw and Tasrif, which you hardly find a simple way of getting this knowledge elsewhere other than that of Maulana Na'an-Nabi, because of his patience and his steadfastness in teaching from the lower books to the middle and the higher books. I've been with Malam in the last 14 years here, getting deep knowledge from him, which Alhamdulillah I have increased my knowledge a lot by his teachings.
Over his 30-year blindness, Sheikh Na'an-Nabi has adjusted to his circumstances and believes that loss of one's organ should not define him or any other person, as that is destiny. Contrary to the perception of blind or disabled people as beggarly, the Islamic scholar preaches personal strive for self-sufficiency. Ado Musa, Trust TV News, Jos.
President Muhammadu Buhari arrived in Doha on Saturday night to attend the 5th United Nations Conference on Least Developed Countries, LCDs. His participation at the summit precedes an official visit at the invitation of the Emir of Qatar, Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani. Kende Amadou, who was on the entourage of the president in Doha, now reports.
The United Nations Conference on the Least Developed Countries holds once in a decade and provides an opportunity to garner the support of the international community for accelerating sustainable development in least developed countries, as well as assist them to make progress towards achieving prosperity. Nigeria is not one of the 36 nations listed as least developed countries, but is committed to supporting the most vulnerable countries to meet their development challenges because a large number of them are in Africa.
70% of this number is in Africa, and all of the problems of the world are around these few countries. They have about 14% of the global population, but put together all of their GDP is less than 1.3% of the global GDP. In terms of export of manufactured goods, they control less than 1%. So they are bedevilled by so many things: debt crisis, problems of borrowing, hunger, insecurity, compounded by climate change, and all of the things that have been generated by global recession and the coronavirus epidemic. So this meeting, perhaps more than even the General Assembly of the United Nations, it is to bring everyone together, the least developed and those that are developed, to talk about the problems of these countries that need to be supported, need to be pulled up.
As most of these countries struggle to find sustainable solutions to challenges of poverty, adverse effects of climate change, food and energy crisis, as well as high debt burden, the question to ask is, what is different about this conference?
This is focusing essentially on what to do in order to solve problems. Other meetings may be happening, talk shops and all of that, but the thing is that you expect that there will be an action plan that will be generated from Doha, as was the case when they last met 5 years back in Istanbul. So we expect an action plan, arising from this.
The summit will be attended by world leaders, the private sector, civil society and youth organizations. After the summit, President Buhari is expected to engage one-on-one with the Emir of Keita to work out partnership between both countries on Nigeria's own peculiar challenges. On the President's entourage to Doha, Kehinde Amudu, Trust TV News.
Now, with high insecurity, high divorce rate and high cost of living, women in Katsina are leveraging on business opportunities for their survival. Jamil Mobay in this report tells the story of a female journalist who ventured into the restaurant business to keep body and soul together. His report.
Rukaya Aliyu Jibia, a non-practicing journalist in Katsina. Being a male-dominated profession in her area, women find it difficult to break even due to cultural and religious limitations.
Yes, as a female journalist, I faced a lot of challenges. I think societal and religious challenges. I needed something because I need the cash flowing, because I have to take care of my kids and I have to take care of my family. So I thought of having a business, a side hustle aside from my job, that is journalism.
She decided to venture into business of selling food by opening her first restaurant.
One of my friends advised that I should open a restaurant, probably maybe because he always compliments whenever I cook, so he advised me that maybe I should open a restaurant, and I took his advice and started the restaurant. So that was why I started.
For any business to thrive, it has to stand out in terms of what is offered in the menu. To carve a niche for herself, she opened the first traditional restaurant.
So, I think in every business, one has to make a mistake in every new business. So, I made that same mistake that everybody makes. Maybe many people are tired of the food I'm selling. And this Gargajia business mostly is a business of old people in my society. Maybe the business is for old people, and at times maybe one might even want to eat the Gargajia food, but because of the environment, maybe the environment that he will go and eat will be like not hygienic, or let's say the atmosphere is not conducive for him. So I think of maybe opening a Gargajia restaurant, but maybe a little bit upgraded Gargajia restaurant.
Cultural and religious barriers have affected women in business, hence increases women dependence on men. With harsh economic situation and high rate of poverty in a state with more than 7 million people, Rukaya is optimistic that with proper awareness and mentorship, young women can begin to create wealth for themselves. Jamil Mobay, Trust TV, Katsina.
Now for a look at the foreign scene, where 2 workers with the International Committee of the Red Cross were kidnapped on Saturday in Mali. In a Twitter post, the organization's Mali branch said 2 of its colleagues were kidnapped between Gao and Kidal. The organization said with concern that the agency has been present in Mali for 32 years and is a neutral, independent and impartial organization. Since 2012, Mali has been in the grips of a serious security crisis where violence, including kidnappings of foreigners and Malians, is common, and motives ranging from ransom demands to acts of reprisal. The head of the United Nations Atomic Energy, Rafael Grossi, says Iran has agreed to reconnect cameras and other monitoring equipment at its nuclear sites and increase the pace of inspections. He made the announcement on Saturday after meeting Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi and other top officials in Tehran. The head of the UN Atomic Agency, his visit followed the discovery of uranium particles enriched to near weapons grade level at an underground Iranian facility and came just 2 days before a quarterly meeting of the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA's 35-nation Board of Governors. The IAEA and Iran also issued a joint statement following Grossi's visit, saying Tehran has expressed its readiness to provide further information and access to address the outstanding safeguard issues. And in sports, the second batch of the national under-18 male handball team will on Sunday leave for the International Handball Federation Trophy Intercontinental Championship after the first batch traveled on Saturday for San Jose, Costa Rica. The championship holds from the 6th to the 11th of March. Nigeria, currently African champions, will be featuring in the 6-day championship of the IHF Junior competition for the second time in the history of the championship. The team will play its first match on March the 8th against Nicaragua and also meet Georgia, Guadeloupe, Nicaragua and Tahiti in a round-robin competition. Several of the players picked by coach Emeka Nnamani for the championship after camping at the Roe Park Sports Center in Lagos are core members of the team that took part in the Africa Zone 3 tournament in Côte d'Ivoire and the Continental Tournament in Congo-Brazzaville. The Nigerian team finished second in the 2019 edition held in Pristina, Kosovo, losing by a narrow 26-27 margin to Chinese Taipei in the final. And that wraps up Trust TV News Update for this hour. For more news, you can subscribe and follow us across all our social media platforms. I am Ibrahim Yusuf. Thanks for watching.